Welcome to AlphaCars. My name is Dimitri, and today I'm reporting from our Boxborough showroom, and we actually have our brand new LX2610 Kubota tractor. We bought it for our own consumption. This is not for sale. We've done tons of research and watched a lot of videos from different channels to better understand what's the best tractor to buy for us. And it turns out Kubota is very good to begin with, and we have a Kubota dealer close by, a couple of them. So that's what made our decision towards the Kubota. And then it was a very serious research to come up with the proper set of accessories for our use, which we did. And then, of course, when you get something, you want to make sure it will last. So you definitely want to go and follow the manufacturer's maintenance recommendations and so forth. But we found ourselves doing what we call 0-hour service. So we actually did a pretty extensive service on the machine before we even start using the machine. And we're going to tell you all about it because we know for a fact it's going to extend the operation life of this phenomenal piece of equipment. So stay tuned and let's check it out together. So the equipment like that, it will be used in seriously harsh environments. We have a snowblower, we have the loader, we have all other kinds of equipment. This machine will be at work. It will certainly spend a lot of time outside in the salty environment with snow, with sand, and we wanted to make sure it is not going to rust away. It is going to rust. But how quickly it's going to start rusting. So we wanted to learn for ourselves what are the potential areas that we need to protect from the rust damage, because we know the rust damage is going to take place. We just need to protect those areas of potential concern to extend the life of the equipment by minimizing the rust damage and minimizing how quickly that rust damage will be taking place. And the best way to do it is to protect unprotected areas. So first we needed to learn what are the areas that we need to protect. And we started to inspect equipment very, very carefully, and we learned that there are a lot of areas as just the consequences of the production process where there's actually exposed bare metal. And it's not just Kubota. We learned that it actually happens on a lot of equipment just because there are limitations on how the paint can be applied and to what surfaces. So, for example, enclosed surfaces of the tubes, of the channels like that, on the inside, they are bare metal. And even on the machine that was literally 3 days old, we put a borescope inside and we saw that it's just starting to rust. And you'll see a little picture of the one edge of the channel, and you can see rust there already. Of course, during the machine assembly, as good as the assembler is, there will be little chips, and then as you start using the machine, there will be more chips, and that will start to rust. There are also welded seams, and that surface between the welds is usually where it starts rusting, so we needed to learn all that. Once we did, we had a plan of how we're going to protect that. And this is based on our extensive experience working with automobiles, working with pieces of equipment we had in the past. A lot of them we bought used, some of them we bought new, and over the years you just see what happens. So with this piece of equipment, we decided to take the steps and to do the rust preventive treatments, something we've done for years on automobiles, and we see how the owners of those automobiles benefited from it. This can be done, and it should be done on a gorgeous piece of equipment like this. We don't expect it to stay gorgeous, but we expect it to stay hopefully rust-free, but certainly not as much rust if we didn't do this work. So in this video, we're going to show you everything we've done, and you're going to be able to see how we achieved the goal and what it takes. But right now, I'll show you the areas that we protected, and it may not look like a big deal right now, but we did a lot of disassembly right on a brand new machine to get to those areas that need to be protected. So let's start from the bucket, and I'll show you that. We also have the snow blower and the grass mower, and those are in the shop. You'll see them in the middle of the video. But as we go around here in the showroom, all the work is completed. And the first, if I put my hand on painted surfaces, it can feel slightly tacky because we do have the amber coating on it. We didn't do it on the sides or on the bottom, but anything that does not get a hard interaction with other objects, we did apply that coating. Let's take a look. I'll show you how the seams, how we sealed those. You can see it right here and on the side. And then we sprayed the amber coating pretty much on all enclosed areas everywhere. This tube was actually, it is bare metal. So we applied the protective coating on the inside and had that covered. All these nice anodized flanges and pipes, they're all protected, so they're gonna stay that way for a pretty long time. And then, as I mentioned before, we covered all these channels on the inside with a protective coating. The frame of the tractor, the underside of the tractor, the floor of the cab is it's a double panel. There's actually 2 sections. So we sprayed protective coating right in between those panels. And then I'll show you, you can see a little bit of this material right here. This is actually a European chip guard. It's a heavy duty spray-on material that is used on rocker panels on European cars, and we applied that on the wheel well of the tractor. We also applied it on the cab floor, and we went about 1 inch up. And you'll see more of that in this video, how we did all this. I'll show you the back of the machine and the transfer case, transaxle if you will. So that is all sprayed with amber, and it's a tacky coating that we've used many times in different areas on the equipment, on the automobiles and on the equipment, and it works awesome. You can also see on the inside of the wheel wells, we applied the seam sealer to that seam that usually you see rust coming out from there, and then it starts to flake the paint, and then the rim doesn't look nice. So all these coatings, all these surfaces are coated, and then we can take a peek under the fender, and you can see that is all protected with that spray-on chip guard. And you'll see in this video, later in this video, how we've done that and what do you need to take apart to get this done. And you can see on the rims, we sealed the seams. And then down here, all these tubes are sprayed. The inside, you can see the material here, and it feels like a heavy wax, and that's what it is, but it stays that way. It doesn't dry hard. And you can see throughout the entire machine that's been all coated. We also can take a peek in the engine bay, and for that, of course, we're gonna move the radiator guard forward, flip this, lift this up, and on the 2610, this is a metal heavy-duty hood. So, and I'll show it on this side. You can quickly remove the side grills just to get better access, and pretty much all of this is covered with amber coating and inside the frame as well. And that's the key. is to get that product everywhere you can. Of course, you don't want to put it right over the alternator, or certainly not over the exhaust manifold, and just things like that that just don't make sense. But anywhere else you can get that in, that will go a very long way, and it will protect your piece of equipment. So stay with this video, and you'll see some cool footage how we were able to achieve these amazing results. And now we're ready to go out and do a lot of hard work. In fact, we already did. You can see the bucket has a little bit of dirt because we already had one project that saved a lot of hard work for us just shoveling. So we are starting off with some of the attachments. You can see right here the snow blower. This is a big one, and it has most of the options. You can see the hydraulic controls, and what we did, we evaluated what would be the areas of potential rust, where would it shoot from. So usually it's coming from the seams, because the seams are not, they don't get as much paint, or they don't get any paint at all. And that's where the moisture gets in and it just starts to rust. So what we did, we sealed off. You can see we have the body panel seam sealer that we applied, and we kind of just stuffed it in there. The inside, it has a good bead of weld, so we know it's protected. You can see these areas we've gone through. Same here. So we pretty much did all of that, and you can see these seams are anything you find, if you consider doing the same thing, any open seams you find, we would use the seam sealer. And you can see right here, and even by the hinges, because if it's not done, yeah, we're actually going to hit that one. We're still working on it. You can see that's a good example. If you look at that area right there, there's no paint on the inside of that joint. So we're going to seam seal that and prevent any water going in. On the inside, we're going to spray the amber coating. And you can see we already did that over here. And we didn't seal this seam because we're concerned that the moisture is still going to get pushed through, because there's a lot of action going on this side. So we kept this seam kind of opened, and we stuffed it, we filled it with the amber coating. It's actually all the way in there, and we did it all around this area. So this is something we're just going to keep an eye on and spray it as needed as we use this piece of equipment. The next one we're doing is the mower deck. Again, this is the industrial duty piece of equipment, and we're doing the same thing. Any seams like that, we're just sealing them off. Or we're feeding the amber coating on the inside. You can see we did the same thing over here. And what we also did, we inserted a feed line for the amber product all the way in, and we start spraying it as we pull the feed line out. So that pipe is rust protected on the inside. You can see the seam sealer again on all the hinges and all the areas that are that have gaps. So we kind of sealed it off. You can see good examples right here, right here, and pretty much everywhere else. We're still working on this one. There's going to be more done to it. And then, yeah, we're going to apply amber coating to, actually it's already applied here. I can see it's tacky and a little shiny, and We didn't apply it on the painted surfaces on the underside or outside because those supposed to need to be smooth because there's a lot of grass and we don't want it to get kind of like get sticky to the amber coating. But this is a good area we're going to continue on. This one we're working with. So these are the seams that you want to seal, and we're going to obviously do it on this bracket and a couple other ones. We're getting ready to take the wheels off because we're going to need access to the wheel wells. So we're applying the product to the transaxle, and then we're going to go over the perimeter. Pretty much have all this covered. We're going to put the chip guard material on this surface. We completed the coating of the transaxle and all the hydraulics and the anodized fittings for the hoses. So all of that has been coated with amber coating. So the next step, we are doing the underbody seal. We're going to do the spray-on application on this wheel well. So we're actually going to tape everything off and apply that. And the other thing I'm going to show you is if you have your wheels off, those areas where you usually see rust coming through, those are the gaps that we, as you can see, that's the inside of the rim, and we sealed it off with the body sealant. We're going to do the same thing on the outside. We're going to pretty much between the welds, those are the seams we're going to seal off. So the next in the stage, what we're doing, we're going to spray a heavier, not just your typical rubberized undercoating. This is going to be a European style material, actually not the European style, it's actually the European material that you find on the underbody of German, mainly BMW, Porsche, Mercedes vehicles, because, and they last very, very long time. Actually, we've seen them with even 30, 40-year-old cars, and that coating would still hold up beautifully. So we're going to apply it to all these wheel well surfaces. As you can see, we remove the fender flares, and the fender flare comes up to this point. You can see we're actually going to go up and apply it here because you can see already it was rubbing through right to the bare metal. We don't want that. You can see behind the lights there was already rust developing here. We cleaned it off, and that just from the not even several days of use. You can see the light was rubbing through here. We're probably going to put a rubber edge guard there before we install the light. Check this out, look at the texture, you can see. And this is the third coat. And this stuff is, it's pretty much like a liquid brushable seam sealer. It's really strong, and it stays that way for a long, long time. And interestingly, it pretty much the same shade of gray, or very similar, as the Kubota cab parts. Check that out. Looks very, very close. We're getting closer and closer, only a few final touches left to get our Kubota ready for work. And by the way, in the background, we have a late model Bentley sedan, but who's going to look at that when you have this gorgeous Kubota right next to it? We completed the work on the floor of the cabin, and you can see how it's finished with the very durable coating. We also sprayed on the inside in that kind of like double floor panel. We sprayed amber coating on the inside there, you can see. We pretty much covered by now, we're going to do a final inspection on the daylight, but we covered pretty much all the area with all the areas with amber coating. And here's how the floor looks. You can see it's a nice textured coating, very, very durable. And the product itself, made by a German company, Worth, and it's called Underbody Seal Gray. So it's not your typical undercoating. It's actually extremely heavy-duty rubberized, totally rubberized. It's not like just some kind of a rubberized that you can wash off, but this is, it almost feels like resin. So we covered that, and we also have that on the wheel wells on the inside, and a little bit on the outside. You can see this line. So that's all done. We covered all these coatings with amber so they stay nice and shiny. And let's see, we moved our blinkers. That's been done. Oh, I'm going to show you the bucket. So we sealed those gaps. You can see it right here and right here, and pretty much everywhere where there were seams like this one. You can see right there. So that's all done. That will prevent pretty much rust damage down the road. Now that we completed our 0-hour service, and I know Kubota doesn't have such a thing, but it is one of the most important services we could have done on this machine, and we completed it. We want to thank you for watching this video. We hope it was helpful, and it doesn't have to be Kubota only. It can apply to any tractor. It can actually apply to any piece of equipment that you know you're going to be doing some work out there in the elements. So we hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider sharing, subscribing, and please let us know which videos you like the best by simply clicking the like button. And I'm going to go and do some work with this machine way right now.